friends, Miss Cassie here with Antelope Lending Library's Storytime for All. This week we're going to read Waiting for the Biblioburro. And this is written by Monica Brown and illustrated by John Parra. And this is all about a different kind of mobile library. We think of mobile libraries as bookmobiles, of course, because that's the kind of library that we are. But all over the world, there are different kinds of mobile libraries. And this library is on the back of a donkey or a burro. So that's why it's called a biblioburro. Other places in the world, they have mobile libraries on the backs of motorcycles or on bicycles or people walking and sharing their books. There's all kinds of different ways to have mobile libraries. And this is the story of one of the kinds of mobile libraries. Okay, here we go. On a hill behind a tree, there is a house. In the house, there is a bed, and on the bed, there is a little girl named Anna, fast asleep, dreaming about the world outside and beyond the hill. Look, there's a little monkey in the tree by her house, and a peacock in her front yard. When Anna wakes up to the rooster's kikeriki, Papi is already at work on the farm, and Mommy is busy in the garden. Anna bathes her little brother and feeds the goats and collects the eggs to sell at the market. After breakfast, Anna and her mother walk down the hill. Anna closes her eyes against the sun and wishes she was back in the cool of the house with her libro, her book. Anna has read her book, her only book, so many times she knows it by heart. The book was a gift from her teacher for working so hard on her reading and writing. But last fall, her teacher moved far away, and now there is no one to teach Anna and the other children in her village. What would that be like if you couldn't go to school because you didn't have a teacher? I know sometimes we don't want to go to school. We'd rather stay home and play. But what would it be like if you couldn't go to school? And if you only had one book at your house to read? So at night, on her bed in the house on the hill, Anna makes up her own cuentos and tells the stories to her little brother to help him fall asleep. That's a good solution. If you don't have any books to read, you can make up your own stories. She tells him stories about make-believe creatures that live in the forest and the mountains and the sea. She wishes for new stories to read, but her teacher with the books has gone. One morning, Anna wakes up to the sounds of tick-a-tack, clip-clop, and a loud ee-aw, ee-aw. What do you think that noise is? When Anna looks down the hill below her house, she sees a man with a sign that reads Biblioburro. With the man, there are two burros. What are they carrying? Can you see in the picture? What's on the back of those donkeys? Libros, books. Anna runs down the hill to the man with the sign and the burros and the books. Other children run to him too, skipping down hills and stomping through fields. Do you think they're excited to see the new books? Who are you? Who are they? The children ask. The man says, I am a librarian, a bibliotecario, and these are my burros, Alpha and Beto. Welcome to the Biblioburro, my biblioteca. The donkeys are named Alpha and Beto. What does that sound like? Maybe a little bit like alphabet? But senor, Anna says, I thought libraries were only in big cities and buildings. Not this one, says the librarian. This is a moving library. We know all about moving libraries, don't we? Then he spreads out his books and invites the children to join him under the tree. Ooh, it looks like a story time. Once upon a time, the librarian begins, sharing the story of an elephant who swings from a spider's web. He reads from books with beautiful pictures, then helps the little ones learn their abecedario, their ABCs. He sings A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Finally, he says, "Now it's your turn. Pick out books, and in a few weeks I will be back to collect them and bring you new ones." "Me too?" asks Anna. "Especially you," says the librarian with a smile. So many cuentos. While Alpha and Beto chomp the sweet grass under the tree, Anna picks up book after book and finds pink dolphins and blue butterflies, castles and fairies, talking lions and magic carpets. Oh, I want to read all those stories. "Someone should write a story about your burros," Anna tells the librarian, rubbing Alpha's nose and feeding more grass to Beto. "Why don't you?" he asks. Then he packs up the books and is off. "Enjoy," he calls to the children. "I will be back." Anna runs up the hill to her house, hugging the books to her chest. She can't wait to share her books with her brother, and that night she reads until she can't keep her eyes open any longer. Look at all of those children who have books now because of the librarian. Each morning, Anna does her chores and reads and looks out her window. She listens for the sounds of Alpha and Beto, but weeks pass and the librarian doesn't return. "When will he come back?" she asks her mother, who smiles and says, "Go read, Anna." "When will he come back?" she asks her mother, who smiles and says, "Go draw, Anna." "When will he come back?" she asks her mother, who smiles and says, "Go write, Anna." "When will he come back?" she asks her mother, who finally says, "Go to bed, Anna." One night, Anna dreams she is flying over her country on a butterfly's back. In her dream, she crosses mountains and oceans and rivers and jungles, bringing stories everywhere she goes. Stories fly from her mouth and fingers like magic, falling into the hands of the children waiting below. When Anna wakes up, she misses Alpha and Beto and the Biblioburro's books. She remembers that the librarian told her that she could write a book. And so, with paper and string and colored pencils, she does. What do you think her story is going to be about? Finally, when Anna thinks she'll never see the Biblioburro again, she wakes up to ee-aw, ee-aw, and children yelling. She runs down the hill with her library books and a special surprise of her very own. "I wrote this cuento for you," she says. "Qué bueno," the librarian says, and then he reads her story to the children under the tree. Now take a look. Can you see the cover of the book that she wrote? What does it say? It looks like the cover of this book, Waiting for the Biblioburro. When it's time to go, Anna's book is packed carefully on the burro's back, ready to be carried away over the hills and through the fields to another child who is asleep on a bed, in a house, on a hill behind a tree, dreaming of Alpha and Beto and all the new stories the Biblioburro will bring. The end. Waiting for the Biblioburro. Isn't this just a wonderful story about the importance of books and of imagination and of being able to share our stories with other people? I just love this book. All right, friends. Thanks so much for listening. We'll see you next time at Storytime for All.